Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to a fellow dietitian, Ariel Faulkner. Hi, and thank you so much for accepting my invite. Can you share a little bit about your background and also the reason why I was so intrigued in getting to know you and talking to you today is because you mentioned you are low carb keto and all that kind of stuff, and all the negative effects that happen almost immediately once you try to do that. And so talk about that and your progression in reintroducing carbs and all this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been a dietitian for over 20 years. I have been working with clients one-on-one for over 20 years, primarily women, primarily in the body composition, weight management field. I mean, I also work with diabetes and other comorbidities, but that's my primary focus. That's where my passion is, really integrative nutrition. So I do integrative and functional nutrition. I ended up getting into that field and getting my advanced degree because of my own health issues that just were not solved by mainstream medicine. And then I would say it was like my mid 30s, I was introduced to a woman who was all down the keto rabbit hole and the carnivore rabbit hole. And I was looking at possibly doing a competition for fun. I had had my baby in my early 30s. It was a couple years later. And I started following her protocol, which was, high protein, no more than 50 grams of carbs, healthy fats. And I really didn't end up having a honeymoon period. I ended up just more so tanking my hormones, my sleep, lost my period within a few months. And first, I want to say for the objection of you didn't do it right or blah, 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 I am probably one of the most type A OCD people. When I follow things, I follow them to a T. And I know when my body is speaking to me. And I also had this like gut feeling about something being wrong with this approach, just from like a nutritional point of view, because I'm like, if this is really the ideal diet, then why don't we see that reflected in epidemiological data? Why don't we see the healthiest people in the world thriving on keto and carnivore diets? If you look at nutrition research, it's almost funny because I feel like in America we have this idea that we're born here and we can't tolerate carbs, because you look at almost every other country and carbohydrates are a staple. So it kind of makes you feel like an ass when you think about it, because it's like really, I mean, not only, and I'm not a vegan either, but because if you look at all ancestral diets, none of them were these extremes. Every
Yeah.
ancestral diet was a balance of plant and animal foods, locally sourced, seasonal, and depending on how far away you are from the equator, was how many plant foods you had in the diet. And as we see, our bodies are incredibly adaptable, but that doesn't mean that that adaptation isn't causing a negative consequence to the system. So the more I dove into the research, and by the way, I also ended up with some gut issues after that because I wasn't providing my body with the fiber and the prebiotics, et cetera, et cetera. And then sleep was terrible. And the more I learned later about sleep, it made sense. And my thyroid also tanked. And I know people are gonna be like, oh, this can't happen in a few months. Yes, it can. When you're lean and you're insulin sensitive and you're a female, our bodies are so sensitive to not only carbohydrate availability, but calorie availability. And so what most women are doing, where they're restricting carbs and restricting calories or doing OMAD or going on these extreme approaches, we're signaling starvation. And what do
Exactly.
we do when we signal starvation? It's like taking your phone and putting it in low power mode. You conserve energy. So the fun part about this was like, well, I'm going to get a lumen because maybe I'm just not doing this hard enough. So I buy a lumen and I start testing myself and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm blowing a 4 and a 5 and I'm eating almost no carbs. So if you're not familiar with that, that means I'm almost primarily burning carbohydrate, not
Right.
fat. And this is
Right.
first thing in the morning. So I also got a glucometer because I wanted to start testing my blood sugar. No matter what I ate, I could not get my blood sugars down below 110 when I
Wow.
was on low carb. And just to give you a reference point, now I can eat 250 to 400 grams of carbs a day. My fasting blood sugar, in fact, I had blood work done just 2 weeks ago in the middle of the day, only 2 hours after lunch, and 60 to 70, probably, I'm estimating, I don't track 60 to 70 grams of carbs. My blood sugar was 78.
Yeah.
Okay. And my lumen, the more I worked on what I call metabolic flexibility, energy flux, providing adequate carbs, hormone balance, sleep, all these things, the more fat I was burning at rest, because that's the biggest mistake people think. They think that, well, if I eat more fat, I'm going to burn more fat, and they equate that to body fat. But when you eat more fat calories, you burn more fat calories and you actually create more stress in the body. And the other argument I just want to like bring up right now, because this is one that people always talk about. It's like, well, carbs aren't essential because your body can make carbs. And oh my God, let me bang my head against the wall. So if carbs aren't essential, then why is my body going to every length to create them when I don't provide them? Like that is the most asinine reasoning. And if you understand anything about human metabolism, biochemistry, how the gut works, how energy metabolism works, the problem is we have so many people in this field who actually don't understand nutrition. Okay, so yeah, I've just this whole reductionistic mentality with nutrition is incredibly damaging. And overall, our bodies, when nutrients, macros, they work like a symphony. And when you have everything in the proper balance, then the body thrives.
Yeah.
But when you try to manipulate the body and manipulate metabolism, thinking you're smarter than the body, it's really ridiculous.
Yes.
And what I think is really scary is like, and what's really funny is I actually, so I don't really go on Facebook, but when I was in, when I was coming out of this whole period where I experimented with this,
Yeah.
I got into a bit of a Facebook war with Paul Saladino. And what's hilarious about that, and he's the guy who wrote the Carnivore Code. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with Paul Saladino?
Oh, he's one of the
Okay.
initial
And I
people
told him,
that help got me intrigued in carnivore
started
and
this whole thing.
yeah, it's true.
But what
Paul,
so
yeah.
this is what's scary about like people have what I call the Dr. God syndrome. They think if somebody has an MD, they understand everything about nutrition, health, vitality, wellness, etc.
Yes.
What they fail to understand is that MDs have very, very little education in nutrition. We're talking less than a few hours. I
Yeah.
mean, over 200 hours of their training is pharmacology.
Yeah.
Here's the disease, here's the diagnosis, here's the drug. That's how they're trained. They are not trained to understand root cause. They are not trained to understand what actually a healthy, vibrant body requires from a nutritional standpoint. And so Dr. Paul Saladino is a psychiatrist, which means he's had even less training in nutrition. So anyhow, so I get in this war with him. I'm like, yeah, well, your hormones are going to crash. You can continue doing this, and what happens? He's back on carbs, eating 300 plus grams a day because
Yeah.
his hormones crashed, his testosterone tanked. And yet I'm like, I almost wanted to I was walking to Whole Foods yesterday with my husband and I saw these people, ready for the new year. They're carrying the Carnivore Code book into Whole Foods. And there was a part of me that just wanted to run after them, like, no, don't do it.
I know. I
Let me
know.
save you.
It's so funny, all these people that would like attack my videos back when I was talking about carnivore, and now that I have started talking about reintroducing carbs, and now they're back there like, see, we told you and you got mad.
Oh, well, you know what? I think the bigger thing is that you kept an open mind. You reflected. You didn't stay staunch in this belief system, and that's the problem. Is that nutrition is like a religion now. People act like it's like something a deity. Like like what is wrong with
Yeah.
this mentality? You know?
Yes. And you notice a lot of similarities also in the personality types
Oh,
of
totally.
people like
Oh,
misogyny, check. Very traditional and let's go back to the way things were, check, and you know what
I
I'm talking.
actually have to add something to that, Sarah, because I'm so glad you said that because that was something I wanted to bring up
Mhm.
so I was researching this because I'm like, how is it that all these people could be the cognitive dissonance is just like you can't even wrap your brain around it. Well, it all makes sense. You know why? So there's this podcast I listened to a couple years ago called The Irrational Ape: Why Humans Believe What They Believe.
Uh-huh.
And to just give you a quick summary, one of the most important pieces of somebody who is kind of that staunch advocate and can't see outside the box and a very reductionistic and tend to be trending towards conspiracy theories, which I would kind of put this in that box.
True.
Guess what? They have a narcissistic personality disorder. So the more you trend, yep, the more
Oh
you
my gosh.
trend towards narcissism,
Yes.
the more extreme you are and the more sure of yourself you are and the more attached you get to these insane ideologies, and it all makes sense, right, when you think about that, because look at the men who are leading this.
Right.
They're so consumed with themselves,
Right.
and the fact that they can't like the fact that they can literally sit there and dismiss all of this evidence that is like not even just in textbooks, but just fucking human populations. If carbs were killing us, will you explain to me the Okinawans? Will you
Right,
explain with me the Catawbans? And I'm not saying we should eat that diet, but just
right,
stop only seeing what you want to see and cherry picking data because you look like an asshole and you're spreading shit because you are an asshole. Sorry. But I mean, seriously, Sarah, like
oh my
I'm getting
God.
all worked up because they're hurting people. Like women come to me with hormone issues, sleep issues. They can't lose weight. They can't lose fat. Their body comp sucks. They can't perform. They don't have energy to work out. And what are they doing? They're cutting carbs or they're trying to do OMAD or they're restricting this or that. And
Right,
they're creating the very thing they're trying to escape from.
right. Or fast some more, eat more
Oh
fat, and then
God.
fast some more. And it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
if there's anything remaining of your thyroid and your metabolism, let's make sure we completely annihilate it. That way
Tank
you
it.
can go back to the kitchen and make me a sandwich.
Exactly. Let's just tank the whole body. Let's just tank the whole system. Not to mention fertility. Low
Right?
carbohydrate availability inhibits fertility, inhibits reproduction, inhibits ovulation. You actually need quality carbs for that progesterone
Exactly.
mid-cycle. You need carbs for estrogen. I
Yes.
mean, this is like, yes, of course, don't be like, no, all you need is fat. Fats and cholesterol are part of what create the structure for the steroid hormones, but that is we're talking like 10 grams a day. We are not talking like downing sticks of butter. I mean, it's just there's what happens is people who have just a little bit of understanding thinking they know all of this. So they know this tiny microcosm of the
Yeah.
macrocosm, and then they create a whole religion out of it.
Exactly. And people always will confuse confidence for competence. That's just the way that we
Oh,
are, right? We
yep.
respond to somebody who seems to be so confident,
Yep.
talking about anything. They could say anything. And if they appear to be very confident, you're going to kind of connect with that and you're going to be influenced by that. And
Yep.
so this is what we have on our hands. It's so funny you talk about all of these people with their narcissism, and I coined it, and I guess we're both aligned. We sense the same thing. I coined
Mhm.
it the penile
Oh no.
incompetence syndrome. The penile incompetence syndrome. This doesn't mean that there are no females that are overconfident relative to their competence. It so happens, just like with every other sector, you see a far greater representation of men in leadership positions. And so
Oh,
you tend to see more of it on the male end of the spectrum. And so you see all these men with overblown egos and all of this confidence, and they don't feel the need to go and double check their facts because they can always speak with confidence and they can always convert people. And so there's no need, not enough pressure on them to make sure their competence is up to the same par as their confidence level. Whereas with women, we tend to, just because of the misogyny that we live in, the misogynistic microaggressions are becoming more subtle, but still every second of your day, like there is something that's going to chip away at your confidence. So females, we tend to have to ensure we're so much more competent to achieve the same level of confidence that a male will naturally
naturally.
have. You
Yeah.
see,
Mhm.
but yeah, I see how we both kind of came to it from different directions, saying pretty much the same thing. It's just overblown egos, but the competence is lagging seriously.
Well, and the other thing that's always a huge red flag to me is anybody who says this is the way, this is the only way,
Right.
because that's like saying it's like it's just as I don't want to piss off people who might be associated with specific religions, so I won't give that analogy. But the point is it's like that is such a dangerous, if you're listening to this and anybody tells you they have your answer or they have the solution or they have the way,
Right.
they have no, that is run as far and fast as you can.
Right.
Because if you, so one of the reasons actually it took me so long to even start a YouTube channel was because I'm always questioning myself. I'm always going, is this right? Well, I could look at it this way, but I could look at it this way. But what if I do this? And it's like, that's what makes people, women like us, so powerful, because not only do we never get caught in a rabbit hole, it always expands and grows because the more we learn, the more you realize you need to learn, the more you realize there is to learn. Because
Yeah.
nutrition is just like it's a very young science. So there's a lot that we don't understand. And when they say that carbs aren't essential, this is something that so there's have you ever heard of the dark matter of food?
No.
Okay, so if you have an apple or you have any whole food, we have only identified a very small amount of the micronutrient value of that apple, but there are thousands of phytonutrients and phytochemicals and things that we have yet to understand or identify in real whole foods, fruits, vegetables, even God forbid grains. I know I'm gonna get shot for that one, right? But they have these components that we have yet, like wild rice is one. Did you know that wild rice, the color, the dark color of rice, actually is a specific anthocyanin that helps with insulin and signaling and
Nice.
glucose metabolism? So I actually tested this out and had wild rice. And then I tested my blood sugar. It was like 75 an hour later, like no blood sugar response whatsoever. But anyways,
Amazing.
back to the dark matter of food. So there's all these nutrients in whole, unrefined foods that we don't understand. And so when you're eliminating all of that from the diet, what else are you eliminating? Like we are only beginning to understand the anthocyanins, the polyphenols. And I think that that is really scary to me because so I also do GI maps. That's like a gut testing where you can look at the bacteria in the gut. And it was funny because we actually had dinner with a couple last night at Christmas dinner. And anyways, the husband used to be on keto. And he was like, I don't have any gut issues. I was like, let's do a GI map just to see, because he's one of those guys who likes to optimize.
Right.
His gut was the inflammation, his calprotectin was through the roof. He was starting
Whoa.
to trend towards pancreatitis. He had like no good bacteria. His mucin lining was degrading. And I was like, you think we should try adding some plant food? So he ended up doing that. It was so cute today too, because I did this like 6 months ago, or maybe even a year now with him. And he texts us today. He's like, I'm making homemade sourdough. Do you guys want some? And it's like, absolutely. Love sourdough.
I
Yes,
love it.
that's one of the carbs that we
I
love to
love
eat.
One of my Christmas gifts this year was how to make homemade sourdough, like a cookbook. I was like, yay!
That
I
is
love this
awesome.
so much. Yeah, oh my gosh. The gut thing, the thyroid, I'm seeing gut tests getting much, much worse on carnivore.
Oh yeah.
But the good thing is that it rebounds rather quickly once you
Mhm.
start reintroducing carbs with the help of a professional, because it's not like just eat all the carbs the next day. No,
Mhm.
right? That, and then the thyroid, right, tanking,
Mhm.
because also even blood tests of thyroid is not going to tell us if you're hypothyroid or not, because you need carbs and an insulin spike to activate the DIO enzyme, the deiodinase enzyme inside your cells to convert T4 into active
Yep.
thyroid hormone T3. So, and then dopamine and serotonin literally flatlines in the absence of carbs of insulin. Like you're barely making enough to just survive. You need carbs to have this elevation in dopamine, so your brain cells have the ability to convert the precursors like tyrosine and tryptophan into the active form of dopamine. So to convert that into
Mhm.
dopamine, into serotonin, into acetylcholine, the focus and attention chemical. I mean, baseline cortisol goes up as you experience, and you need the carbs to be able to have low levels of baseline cortisol, inflammation. There is not one marker, not to mention cholesterol, shooting up and up and being told like it's okay. It's okay to have
Oh,
insanely
I
high
know.
levels of
I know.
cholesterol. I hope you're enjoying this podcast. If you need help and support learning how to bring your metabolism and your thyroid function back to life, if you need help understanding how to leverage the power of carbohydrates to actually achieve far higher levels of health and performance that keto and carnivore diets could never even dream of achieving, even at their highest levels, then feel free to check out my coaching packages at drsarahzoliver.com/coaching. And if you use code New Year, you can get 50% off all my coaching packages within the next 48 hours. Make sure you look into the ones that have unlimited email support, like the Fit Optimized package and the premium packages. Those, especially the Fit Optimized package, I think might be my most popular one because it goes over for 3 months. So I see you weekly for 30 minutes and you have unlimited email support and you have unlimited meal plan adjustments and exercise plan adjustments and supplement recommendations, everything that can fit your budget if you need it or if you are willing to do that. So check them all out. And also make sure you're signed up to my newsletter at drsarahsoliver.com/newsletter so you stay up to date on all of my research and all of the new things that we are discovering and all of the cutting edge tools at our disposal to help you not only be the healthiest you've ever been, but also the best performing you've ever been. More energy, more income, more productivity, leaner body, more muscle mass, the organ of longevity. I hope you start thinking more about building and getting stronger as opposed to restricting and getting weaker and weaker over time. Now back to the podcast.
I know, I know.
Wow.
Really quick on that too. There was just a study done, I think it was this past year. And
Mm-hmm.
this is what's so the other thing, like going back to kind of like lean, healthy, fit people doing this. So what's okay, hold on. Let me rewind for a second because I wanted to cover this study because what they did was they took obese people. And this was a metabolic ward study, and that's really important because when people are citing these studies like, look, keto and carnivore did better, almost always they are free living. They are never metabolic ward studies and they're short term. But this was a metabolic ward study.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was a 12-week study.
Mm-hmm.
And these are obese and overweight people who do not exercise. And one group got 150 grams of carbohydrate a day, the other group was keto. The group getting 150 grams of carbs lost more body fat and less lean tissue despite being sedentary. And that's going to take me into another key point. So I was looking at some research just out of curiosity because I was like, I bet exercise is a lever nobody's talking about that has a tremendous impact on really kind of mitigating any impact of all these micromanaging of macros instead of just focusing on real food. And of course, what do I come across? I come across a study where it was obese insulin resistant people. So, but one group did high carb, one group did low carb.
Mm-hmm.
They had control groups that did not exercise on each arm, and then they had groups that did exercise on each arm. So
Mm-hmm.
when you looked at the sedentary, this was interesting, but this was very high carb. The
Uh-huh.
sedentary did lose a little less fat and then the low carb group when they were sedentary. But the sorry, but when the participants were active with the same activity, so they had to do a specific amount of aerobic exercise and lifting, the metabolic advantage was gone. In
Right.
fact, the higher carb group lost more body fat. So this is the thing. It's like we know exercise is medicine. We know that exercise improves metabolic flexibility, energy flux, et cetera, et cetera. So why would we be promoting a diet that actually causes you not to have the energy to exercise, not to want to perform, not to recover well, instead of a diet based on real whole food full of these nutrients that we have yet to understand? And you have the energy and the stamina to exercise, not to mention, like, are you telling me that I can't eat a fucking turkey sandwich? Like, are you kidding me right now? I mean, like, really, when you sit back and think about the stupidity of all of this
Yeah.
these extreme approaches with diet,
Yeah.
not to mention the mental stress that creates, and then what does that do? If you're sitting down to a meal and you have anxiety and nervous system dysregulation, your metabolism changes. You actually do not partition those nutrients the same way as when you sit down and you enjoy your food and you're eating from a place of love
Yes.
and gratitude and pleasure. And nobody's talking about that, but our emotions have a direct influence on our metabolism.
Even more so than anything else. 100%. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's what it is that there is no interest in learning about the microbiome, how to see
I know.
leaky gut, what are the differences? Like sourdough bread is not the same as ultra processed
No.
bread, and the gluten concentration is different, the way it's prepared is different, the ingredients that they add to it is different. And so just to say like, oh, bread all of a sudden now is the devil, it's like, no, just because you have no interest in expanding your knowledge base in that area, it does not mean that the bread is the problem. It's just you don't know how to use it. It's a very powerful weapon. Carbs are very powerful. I keep saying that. It's like fire, right? It can burn you if you don't know how to use it, or it can completely transform you into a superhuman. And so the same thing happens with carbs. And so people who don't understand how to control it and how to use it and leverage its power end up being burnt by it. And there's now so scared of it. And there's nothing you can say that can convince them until finally they are I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen for them to finally really open up their minds.
Well, you know what's interesting? I was thinking about this and I was thinking about how there's all this emphasis on micromanaging macros instead of building the engine, building the furnace. Because when you have, I mean, look at professional athletes, look at the guys who do Tour de France. I was listening to an interview with a dietitian talking about the thousands of grams of carbs they have to consume to support their performance.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would I want to live my life having to strip away, strip away, strip away, and live in this limited, reductionistic, fear-based, constricted approach with my body and food when I can optimize my health, my vitality, my metabolism, my burning? Because the thing about metabolism, and this is basic biochemistry, the more carbs you eat, the more your body upregulates the ability to burn those carbs. The less carbs you eat, the more it just dims the ability and you downregulate GLUT4, you downregulate your ability to store glycogen, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I want to live in this place where it's like this fear-based constricted model for literally zero health benefit and only harm long term? Or am I going to sit down to dinner with my 12-year-old daughter and say, "Oh, mom's not having any roasted potatoes tonight because they're toxic." Like, really? Really, Sarah? I mean, well, I swear I could go on and on with analogies because it's so asinine and it's just hurting so many people, especially women.
That is the sad part about it. You know,
Yeah.
once you exit that brainwashing and your metabolism comes back online and you lose the weight and you add muscle, it just, there's a phase where I think I'm still in there, where you're still like so angry. It's like all the lost time.
Oh yeah.
Imagine I could have had this type of metabolism a decade ago, but I instead got sucked into keto and then carnivore for a whole decade, being afraid of carbs and looking at carbs
Yeah.
as like this thing that if you touch it, that's the sin. It's and you feel so guilty when that was the exact thing that I needed
Yep.
to promote muscle building to recover faster. Imagine where I would be if I were doing that for the whole decade, where my everything goes tracks along with your income, your productivity, your energy, your verbal fluency, memory recall, dopamine production, serotonin production. I mean, there is nothing. Skin keeps getting better and better. I'm
Yeah.
having glass skin and I'm not using anything. It's matching what when one time I used retinol, I'm like, how am I getting glass skin and I'm not using anything on my skin? You know, it's just collagen is boosted, circulation is better, I have more energy.
I know, I know. And it's like when you understand the circle of life and the when you think about how plants create energy and we consume the plants or we consume the animals, when you look at it holistically, the
Yeah.
idea that we were supposed like this idea that we're supposed to be on this planet on only consuming animals is it's just on it's I can't like I really can't understand where that logic and it's not logic and that's the thing
Yes.
and it's just the other piece of this that's so important is it's kind of along that same line of less is, you know, let's restrict. It's like low energy availability, like constantly pulling calories, constantly eating less. Even this OMAD thing is coming back. And what women don't understand, we have the most aggressive response to chronic restriction.
Mm-hmm.
So what women don't realize is that even if your daily deficit is only 300 to 500 calories, which it easily is if you're following any of this bullshit or any diet culture, that over time is depleting your system. And
Yep.
you have a significantly higher prevalence of women with autoimmune conditions who have been chronically undernourished. And if we continue to restrict, we don't get leaner. We actually increase fat storage, down-regulate metabolism, and create a highly efficient machine. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a hybrid when I can be a Ferrari, right? It's like I'm leaner now. I'm 45 years old. And I'm leaner now than I've ever been in my life, eating more food than ever.
Yeah.
And I think back, like what you just said, it's like all the years I was so restrictive and so hard on my body. And
Yeah.
you can't get that back. But what we can do is we can help other women not have to maybe be there as long as we are or help guide them out of that because
Yeah.
the trust in your body's ability to burn fuel, and the more you burn, the better you feel, the higher your energy flux is. And
Yeah.
who has energy to be vibrant and happy and healthy and be a good mom and be a good whatever it is you're doing? Like I remember in one thing you were talking about your work and how it just started taking off once you started
Oh,
eating enough.
yeah. Yeah,
You know?
people can sense in the way that you speak, your confidence level rises because you have more energy. You have
Oh
more
yeah.
energy to think more clearly, more analytically, to form sentences better. People respond to that, you know, and also just more energy to be more productive, to post more
Yes.
content, to share more work, which ultimately is going to transform your business, your income. I mean, every single parameter that you can think of is going to be turbocharged when you actually build a stronger machine as opposed to restrict and losing your resilience to everything in the modern world, like to the point where like even EMFs become a problem. You know, you walk into an apartment, it's a little bit moldy, and now you're sick because you can't even walk into a random apartment building that has mold in it. I mean, you just keep getting weaker. Why would we want to do that? Why not take the complete opposite approach and actually become stronger and stronger and stronger over time so that there nothing can phase you? You know, your resilience is through the roof. So, you know, why
Yeah.
don't you share with us a little bit about your current meal plan? I had a client right before, and she was telling me, like, ask your guests what they, you know, like, you're right. I'm sorry. I need to start asking this question more often. What is your current meal plan, exercise plan, all that kind of stuff like right now?
Absolutely. So I don't do a meal plan, so to speak. I kind of follow more principles. And so, like every meal, I have a quality source of carbohydrate. So I love sweet potatoes, I love white potatoes. But the key with the white potatoes is, and sweet potatoes as well, I always buy organic because potatoes are actually one of the most heavily sprayed foods. They're covered in pesticides, etc. So I buy the organic ones. And then to create the resistant starch, which is a prebiotic for the gut
Mhm.
and also resistant starch. So you take a potato, you cook it, you bake it, you roast it, you air fry it. I love to air fry them. Put them in the fridge and then you reheat them.
Yeah.
It creates a resistant starch. And what that means is the starch in the potato is actually, you reduce the blood sugar response by 50% because now it becomes a prebiotic for the gut. And
Mm.
so you get butyrate production and you get bifido and all these beneficial aspects of digesting the potato. And
Mhm.
so I'll do, and they're super rich in potassium, which, by the way, I want to say quickly is one of the reasons people have issues with carbs is because they're not eating carbs rich in potassium, and potassium is required for optimal carbohydrate metabolism. If you look at the actual metabolism of carbohydrate, you need potassium in order to have the cellular function that you want to optimize blood sugar stability. So, anyways, and potassium rich foods are carb plant foods. So, potatoes. And I always have fruit. I love fruit. I'll have a couple. I love the organic pastured eggs. I'll have a couple of those in the morning. And then, or I'll have sourdough toast. We have an organic sourdough, non-GMO. I don't make it, Sarah, but I buy it. And then
I buy it too.
I actually make
I haven't
homemade.
tried to make it just yet, but yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And then I always include about 3 to 4 servings of fermented food. So I make a homemade El Ruderai yogurt, which is amazing. If you haven't made it, I can send you the recipe. Super easy, incredible for gut health and immune health. So I'll have El Ruderai yogurt with that, and I'll have some fruit in that. So my breakfast is pretty hearty. And then I typically get hungry mid-morning, so I'll have like a nice large organic apple and some nuts. And then for lunch, again, I love like sourdough, so I'll have like a sourdough sandwich with roasted turkey and avocado. And then I always have leftover veggies that we roasted the night before, so I'll have that on the side.
Mhm.
Or I'll have like a homemade soup with different vegetables in it and quinoa and protein and a salad on the side. And then mid-afternoon, I get hungry again. Yes, I eat a lot. I love food. I eat all day.
Yeah, it's just showing you how
So,
fast your metabolism
oh
is
yeah.
now that you've reintroduced carbs.
Oh yeah, yeah, night and day. So then like mid-afternoon, I love peanut butter, so I might have like a tablespoon of peanut butter with an apple. And I used to be really more obsessed with protein, but the more research I'm doing and the more I'm kind of monitoring my own labs, the more it really doesn't make sense to me to be eating like a processed protein bar instead of like a real food. So I eat
Exactly.
an apple with nuts or an apple peanut butter, or I might have peanut butter and celery and some like Bulgarian yogurt, which is really rich in probiotics.
Hmm.
And then I get to dinner, and I'll just give you last night because we were at their house. So we had organic grass-fed burgers with pickled onions, sauteed vegetables. I had it on sourdough. I know all this sourdough in one day, right? And no, I don't normally eat bread all day, but that just happened to be a day where I'd eat bread. If I didn't have that, I love chickpea pasta. So I'll do like organic chickpea pasta with
Uh-huh.
vegetables, tomato sauce, Parmesan, salad. Um, and I actually love tofu. And because I'm 45 and I'm perimenopausal, I started researching soy.
Yeah.
And again, fear mongering around soy, there's all these health benefits to soy. And so
Mm.
I make sure I buy non-GMO, I press it, and I love, having tofu. I'll air fry it with sweet potatoes and vegetables. I love quinoa. I'm just giving you like carb ideas. I love wild rice, quinoa. I'll even do white rice. I love all the bean pastas, every variety of potato and sweet potato. I love parsnips, root veggies. If you want to just experiment, one of the easiest things to do is go to Costco and buy the Pura Vita frozen root veggie mix. It has
Okay.
parsnips, sweet potatoes, carrots, and red onion, and it's delicious. And you throw it in the air fryer or the oven,
Nice.
and it's
I
super
have a
simple.
similar thing. Not that brand, but a
Okay.
similar thing of like a blend of roasted carrots and broccoli and potatoes
Hmm.
with like seasonings in it. And so and like nothing else in like there's nothing potentially inflammatory there. It's literally single ingredient foods. You just pop it and you roast it. And so I've stocked my freezer with that. So I'm still like in the stage where I'm exploring all of these new
Yes.
foods that I was so terrified of for over a decade.
Oh, and I know this is probably going to get a lot of hate, but I love like organic corn tortillas, non-GMO. Oh my God, amazing. I have a client who's Colombian. She makes arepas and they're amazing. I mean, I think like we're demonizing these foods, right? Or not we, but and
Yeah,
I love beans, chickpeas,
yeah,
lentils, black
yeah.
beans, pinto
Because
beans.
you can't for the vast majority of the population, if they're overdoing them and being sedentary all day long, they're overspilling. All of these calories, nutrients are being overspilled, and
Mhm.
that's what's causing the insulin resistance. That's what's causing all of the metabolic damage. And so it's a completely different way of doing things. You want to put on muscle, you want to speed up the metabolism, you
Yeah.
want to move more, and you want to fuel that movement to create a super breed, a machine that's operating at a higher and higher and higher and higher levels.
Yes, and I actually, two things I want to say on that point is one is I have never had a client in 20 years come to me who's obese, insulin resistant, and eating whole food plants. Nope, never, never. What they're eating is standard American diet, ultra processed foods, and they're not moving.
Yeah.
And in fact, I have a client and she's not super active. She's now working with a trainer a couple days a week. But she has struggled with her weight for most of her life. And we did a GI map, and she was following a low carb, high protein diet. And considering she does have hyperinsulinemia per her endocrinologist, you would think that would be the approach that would help her lose weight. We
Right.
did a gut test, and all the bacteria in her gut are Firmicutes. Firmicutes are the sugar lovers, right? Yep,
Ah,
there's almost no bacteroidetes in her gut. Her microbiome was we needed to work on that. Now, okay, so it's all about calories. However, we're not looking at the whole system. The other thing she has is intestinal endometriosis, which means she doesn't detox estrogen efficiently. And so I'm looking at all these different metabolic pathways, and I said, let's try something. I really want to work on your gut health. We're going to switch you to whole plant foods. We're going to really reduce the animal products. We're going to reduce the fats, only, the avocados, etc. But we're still going to keep it more low fat. We're going to keep the intake the same, but we're just really going to increase the diversity and fiber and plant foods. And what happened from a 6 week plateau? She starts dropping a pound a week and it
wow.
feels fantastic. So tell me how a insulinemic, sedentary woman going through menopause is now losing weight on a high fiber, higher carb, plant-based diet when she was completely plateaued, because we can't just look at insulin and we can't just look at things in this there is someone online, I will not say his name, but his entire thing is about insulin. Insulin causes everything. Insulin causes weight gain. Insulin, you have to lower insulin to lose fat based on looking at a fucking fat cell in a lab and saying, "Oh, look how the fat cell acts." I'm sorry, that's not in my body. You have no
Yeah.
idea all the other
Yeah.
biochemistry and
Yeah.
interactions that are going on there. And I know from working with clients, and you know from working with clients and our own bodies, it's absolute bullshit. So stop blaming the carbs, get off your ass and start moving like you're designed to, because you cannot sit here and tell me you can't tolerate carbs if your VO2 max is shit and you have no muscle mass.
Isn't that wild that all of the top, like if you look at the vast majority of the keto and the carnivore, both influencers and experts, like people with credentials and those that are just influencers, right? All of them, the vast majority of the keto and the carnivore influencers or whatever you want to call them, do not look the picture of health.
No.
They're either very skinny, anorexic looking, or
Hmm.
zero muscle mass if they're still young, because you literally cannot see a muscle
Hmm.
on their frame,
Hmm.
or they're overweight. And
Or
some of
they're
them,
overweight.
right? Like some
Hmm.
people, I'll tell you, I don't want to be naming names, but like I'll tell you who, like they're becoming literally overweight and obese. And it's
Yeah.
like, but they hide behind suits and they're talking about how sugar and fructose is so bad for you. And it's like, if if that recommendation worked, why aren't you shredded? Why aren't you muscular? Why aren't you the picture of vibrant health? You know, and that's like the bare minimum that
Oh,
you gotta have.
absolutely. And along that point, if you look at the leanest people, they are the ultra endurance athletes.
Right?
And they eat the most food and the most carbohydrates.
Yes. Yes.
So, and if you look at research,
Yeah.
research shows the leanest people eat the most and move the most.
Exactly.
They're not
Exactly.
restricting.
Exactly.
They're
Even
not
bodybuilders are eating all the
hypometabolic.
carbs. Yes. Any
Oh
peak
my gosh,
performer, right? And by the way,
absolutely.
and we're talking here just in sports, right? They're eating all the carbs to be the best elite athletes. But also the brain is the same thing. If you're performing optimally with your body, it also means you can perform optimally with your brain. It's one and the same. And so we can even maybe look at, it's just harder to see it, you know, people who are peak performers with their brain, they need the most amount of carbs as well. Chess players, I remember I talked about the study one time in a YouTube video about just how much weight they lose during a chess tournament. They burn so many
Oh
calories
yeah.
in it, you know, and they have to like really make sure they're on top of their nutrition. They're eating all the carbs to be able to be that peak performer, you know. So you could survive not eating carbs, but why would you want to survive when everybody around you, your coworkers, your everybody around you is performing at a higher level, can always win any argument, can influence you more easily because they have more energy to do so. So why would you want to be left behind?
I mean, it's kind of like, do you want to survive or do you want to thrive? Like
Exactly.
what signal are you sending your body? And the other something I want to say real quick, just because of the brain piece is like, and oh my gosh, I'm just gonna say this without going down the rabbit hole of the argument against this, but the brain uses 130 grams of carbs a day.
Mhm.
Just your brain.
Minimum.
Just your brain, minimum. And then you have energy you need for exercise, daily activities, etc. It's like it's just so crazy when you really strip back how the body works.
This is why, remember how I was telling you about it's a character thing. This is why people who are so into the carnivore, whether it's an influencer or the audience, they all tend to generally be more traditional. Let's go back to the way things were. They're very resistant to progress and evolution. They don't they struggle to adapt to a rapidly moving environment. You can't tell me that my caveman ancestor that only ate meat and had nothing much to think about except just hunt and eat and be safe, right? Versus me with access to Chat GPT and an insane amount of data points and so much information that I get just in the first 5 minutes from the moment I wake up. You can't tell me my brain needs are the same as that caveman brain's needs. It's going to require more glucose. It's going to require way, way, way more carbs.
Well, and I think the misunderstanding too is even that we ever solely survived on meat. I mean, that's something that, I mean, we like people can sit here and argue all day and but you can, there's, there's no, like they found pieces of grain. They know that we were what do you want to scavenge, like we were scavengers, right? So we basically ate whatever we could get our hands on. And
Yeah.
you're telling me that when we had a fruit tree, we'd walk by and not eat it because it's carbs? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
I'm
I mean,
on a
how
diet.
retarded is that when you think about it? It's so stupid, Sarah.
True,
It's
true.
like I remember this book and I can't remember the name of it, but it was really interesting because it was talking about how our ability to cook starch is actually what allowed our brain to evolve.
Yeah.
Oh, this toxic starch is what allowed our brain to evolve, Sarah. I
We
mean, what the
established
hell?
civilization came after we learned how to extract more nutrients from
Yes,
our environment. I'm not saying
yes,
stop eating meat. I'm saying eat everything. I'm saying eat all
yes.
the meat, eat the fats, and eat the starches. Eat them all.
Oh
The
my
more
gosh, you mean you don't want to demonize a macronutrient or a food
no,
group? Oh my God, Sarah, what is wrong with
I
you?
know.
Seriously. I mean, I don't know if I can get on board with that train. Seriously.
I it's wild. It is wild how, how people can have access to this information and still like not realize how powerful it is, right? How powerful it is to take the route of building, of using up all of the resources at your hand. When you have two organisms, the organism that is taking up more resources, more in, more results. And the
Mhm.
people who are trying to restrict, less in, less results in every area of your life.
Absolutely. It's like that low energy availability or that chronic restriction, it just drains you. And it's not like that is so far. And why are we punishing the body? Like what the hell? Like we should be so grateful for this body. And instead of asking like we should be asking, how can I operate at like 100%? How can I optimize every system in my body? Like,
Yeah.
why are we pulling from the body? Like, it's like, don't even get me, maybe we'll do a podcast about this, but like the Ozempic thing, like, it's so asinine, the whole weight loss medication. And
That
I
slow
find,
down your gut motility to a
oh,
screeching halt. That'll make you
okay,
real
so my
healthy.
husband works in medicine, and
Uh-huh.
people on Ozempic have to have stop eating 7 days prior to surgery because that's how long the food is sitting in their stomach,
Oh
Sarah.
my gosh.
Otherwise, they can aspirate. And there's another drug. It's not Ozempic, but it's a GLP-1 agonist. 10 days. 10 days. Can you imagine food sitting in your stomach? Oh, hello, SIBO, small
Right.
intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Hello, gut issues. And
Candida overgrowth.
oh, and then down regulating your metabolic system to the point where you get to maintain. Oh, that's a great story. Woman who I worked with, this was a couple years ago on Ozempic. She only lost about 20 pounds and she was maintaining her weight on 800 calories. And anybody who says you can't do that, I worked in an eating disorder clinic. I saw women come in. I saw the dysregulation of metabolism with extreme approaches and how much the body can compensate. And let me ask you, if you want to maintain your weight, eating barely anything, having a high body fat, feeling like shit, not sleeping, having no libido, having fucked up hormones, sure, go do it. But if you actually want to thrive and model something different for your children, for your family, for your peers, for your life, and have the energy and vitality to walk your purpose, you need to eat food. I mean, your body wants to run. I mean, it's like, it's just crazy.
I just love you so much. I love you so much that we're gonna do a part two tomorrow. I was like, even before we started the interview, just like the few minutes we were talking, I'm like, I need to reserve you for a round two because this is just not gonna be enough.
No, it's not.
I love it. So, okay, I'm gonna tell everybody to ask us your questions or if you have any comments, because tomorrow we're gonna film another one. This is gonna
Yes.
drop literally in the same day that we filmed it. And so we're gonna read all the comments. I'll make sure that I address them and I ask you those questions and we can cover them tomorrow. So this has been so fantastic. You're amazing. And I cannot wait to dive deeper into all these topics. But for now, where can people find you, connect with you? I know you have a YouTube channel as well, and maybe you have an Instagram, and give us all of the goods.
Yeah, so actually, I mean, I have an old Instagram. I don't really use
Right.
Instagram or go on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. My website is currently under construction. I have a friend building it because I attempted it myself, not my forte. So I'm not, Best
Okay.
spending my energy there. So the best way to get a hold of me right now is just old school email. It's on my YouTube channel. My website will be up in a couple of weeks, and then that'll be much easier. But for now, that's the best way to reach me.
Perfect. And your YouTube channel is the same name, Ariel Faulkner?
Ariel Eve, Ariel Eve Wellness. Yes,
Ariel E.
Ariel Eve
Wellness.
Wellness.
I will
Mhm.
link it directly. I already found it the other day, so I'll link it in the description box below. Um, Thank you so much for
Thank you,
today. This
Sarah.
was so fun.
This was awesome.
Right? And thank you everybody for sticking with us till the end. If you enjoyed this kind of content, make sure you let us know by giving this YouTube video a thumbs up, subscribing, and hitting that little notification bell icon so YouTube alerts you every time I post a new video. And I cannot wait to see you and see you, Ariel, tomorrow for part 2.
Same here.
Bye, everyone.